Will you follow me when the sky starts to change? Yeah, we won't be afraid. We'll never be the same again.
All right, guys. We're here to talk about SmackDown. Today is November 15th, 2024. We are currently on the road to Survivor Series. We have a lot to talk about today. A couple things we're going to be talking about tonight. More things revolving around the Bloodline. Got some stuff to talk about that. That's definitely going to be a very lengthy conversation because I know me and Watkins do have a few things to say about that when it comes to the overall direction. Do we know exactly where it's going all the way through? No, but judging on how things are placed, we have a good idea where it could go, and it kind of seems like it is going down there, but like I said, we'll save that for the discussion. And of course, we have stuff with Cody Rhodes, Kevin Owens, more build up with their feud. Then we got the Women's US title tournament officially kicking off tonight. I thought it was just going to be a cross-brand thing, but I guess it's just SmackDown girls on here, so we could talk about that too. You got the U.S. title open challenge with LA Knight. You got the tag team title match between the Motor City Machine Guns and Street Profits, and then a women's title match. Fantastic to see the woman main event, not just on Monday, not just on Tuesday, but also on Friday. We got Nia Jax versus Naomi for the WWE Women's title. So that's your little rundown right here. And I'm going to bring us in now so we can talk about this episode of SmackDown. All right, here we are right here.
Woohoo! With anime in our souls and thoughts of wrestling out of control tonight, we are a duo of weebs who love the entertainment of professional wrestling. So allow us to be the voices inside of your head as we go through the wrestling events of the evening, give our thoughts and predictions on what's to come, and provide an experience inclusive to all you nerds out there. So grab your steel chair, yell for the table, and get put through an experience unlike any other. We are brought to you by Anime Studio, and we are the Weebs of the Ring, and this is our wonderful, awesome, beautiful, lovely podcast. Everybody, hopefully you are having a good day, a good Friday. It has been a week, a hell of a week for some, and a decent week for others. If you're joining us instead of watching the Jake Paul Mike Tyson fight, thank you for that, obviously. And if you hear one or both of us freak out in the middle of all this conversation, that means some shit went down with it. But as always, I am your world champion Watkins here, giving you the lowdown of the SmackDown on the Friday. But I'm not alone, of course. I have with me the genius of the ring himself. Drop this box. Drop, how you doing tonight, buddy?
Doing pretty good. Here to talk about tonight's episode, and just to put this out there, guys, Vash is not here, and I know this has been a reoccurring theme because you've been seeing me and Watkins on here for quite some time, but we're here to bring you guys a great show as always. Vash just has some things going on. He'll be back soon, shooting for Monday. Maybe he'll be here. We don't know, but whenever he arrives again, we'll see him. Watkins was also able to escape the stunt grannies from Monday.
Yeah, they tried to attack me. They tried to get after me, but they couldn't. They couldn't at all. I outsped them, much like Because see, here's the thing: as fast as those turbo grannies are, they're not as fast as the fastest man alive. But
Took
and
85
you know,
episodes to get to you.
just 85 episodes, maybe 3 movies, a special on Netflix, and a CD that came out last June. But yeah, and regarding Vash, he's currently in the midst of some contract negotiations. He's asking for a lot that we just cannot provide. So we're at a stalemate right now. He'll return as soon as his contract is ready to be signed. But with a lot of things going on with like contract signings and like war games stuff going on, we gotta talk about something. We gotta start this night off with a hot topic here. And no, I'm not just talking about the store where you can get lovely t-shirts that have like anime characters on it. No, the hot topic of the night, of the evening, is always got to deal with the bloodline, always got to deal with the bloodline saga. And tonight we got to figure out who the fifth member of each team is going to be. Now, we got some teases on Monday, and some spoilers did go out. So, spoiler warning. I'm not going to spoil anything because I was spoiled with some stuff for Monday. But yeah, one of our conversations was about obviously the fifth member and all that. And looks like we know who the fifth member of Temu Bloodline is going to be.
Yeah.
And a possibility of who the other one for the OG Bloodline is going to be. But leading up to all this segment, so it's like throughout the night, again, trying to find that fifth member for OG Bloodline. Sammy tries to recruit LA Knight, doesn't really work. So now they have to go over to Roman and be like, hey, nobody wants to team with us. And I like how in this segment, like this short backstage segment, they tell Roman the news, and immediately Solo's music hits outside.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I just thought that was a nice touch there. But, Solo makes his way. He wants acknowledgement. Nobody's going to give it to him. Instead, we're going to have a big old brawl between OG and Temu Bloodline. And, I mean, it looks like OG has it until Bronson Reed, of all people, comes out to tip the favors in Temu Bloodline, and they absolutely destroy the OG Bloodline. And if you guys cast your minds back to Monday night, we had talked about the possibility of Seth joining because he was approached by both sides. And yeah, it seems like that's a possibility now, but and that's kind of what we're trying to be talking about here. It's just like, if Seth does join, how does he join? Why does he join? Which is the more important part. So I'm going to bring that to you first to answer, Drop. How and why with Seth joining? Like, just how and why?
Well, see, that's the thing. It's like, I get what they're doing because, of course, you have Bronson there, so theoretically it makes sense to have Seth on the opposing side. But the thing is, like, you got to give us, like, a legitimate reason as to why Seth would work alongside Roman, because Seth built a case on Monday saying that, everything that he'd been through at Roman when it came to things that happened this year, when it came to just their history of one another, he just doesn't want to take part in it anymore. He's the sole reason, honestly, why everything is shaped the way it is now, especially when it comes to Cody being champion, because of all the sacrifices that he made. So knowing how he just wants to go and do his own thing and just deal with Bronson Reed, I mean, it makes sense, just focus on whatever feud you're having now. But it's like the fact that now we have Bronson Reed showing up on Friday, and they didn't like 100% confirm it, but it's pretty much set in stone that he's going to be the guy to be on the fifth team. It doesn't really make any sense as to why you would shoot that angle if that wasn't going to be the confirmation as to, oh yeah, that's our fifth guy right there. But it's like with Seth Rollins, it's like this is going to circle back to him. So it's like you got to think like, okay, how is like Seth really going to take part in this? And it has to be something. I'm not going to say it has to be something similar to Jay, but at least you saw with Jay, it wasn't a like, oh yeah, you're my cousin, we'll work together, everything's all set. He actually had some certain guidelines that he wanted Roman to follow in order for him to work alongside him. So it's like, with that in mind, it made sense because as long as Roman obeyed those guidelines, he would work alongside them. And still, I mean, that's another thing I want to throw out there. You gotta also figure out exactly, when's Jay getting that apology from Roman? Like, that still needs to be a thing. I don't really understand why it was brought up and then not touched upon. Same thing with like the stuff with Sammy and all that. It's like you got to give us like a little something when it comes to like, okay, how are these going to be seeing eye to eye and all that. But it's like Seth. It's like, okay, we're gonna go back to Seth again. Like, what is it going to be? Oh, they're going to invade in my match and cost me. So now I really want to get back at them. I don't think that's a good enough case as to why you would want to work alongside them, because it just cost you a match. It's not like it costed you a title opportunity or anything along the lines of that. It's not like they took you out for like 5 to 6 months and you're out there to get revenge. If it was something like that, okay, I can get behind that. If it was like an angle injury, you were out for a couple months, they were trying to build the storyline throughout the year, okay, I can get behind that because at least there's some logic behind that. But with Steph, like that's the thing. It like, doesn't really make any sense. You can't throw anybody else in there and be like, oh, maybe it's not Seth. It's gonna be Seth. But it's like, how do we get there? That's the thing. It's like, you have Seth there. How are things gonna work? And me just picturing it in my head with Seth just being a part of this, I don't know if I see it being like a thing where it's like, okay, we'll work together and take him down. Like, there's a part of me thinking, is Seth really going to stay true to all of this? Is he going to turn on Roman within the match itself? Because like he said, the next time that he comes across Roman, he's going to stomp him to the ground. So is that going to be one of the key factors as to why they might possibly head down that direction? And maybe it happens. And like, there's just a lot of things to unfold when it comes to this whole entire thing with Seth Rollins. That's why, like, I'm not the biggest fan of it. I get why they're doing it, but at the same time, it's like there's no logical explanation. It can't be one of those things that's like, oh, well, we're brothers, we worked with each other all those years ago, we can get back on track again. It can't be something like that, because it's been an ongoing theme. It's not like they eventually made up and they were completely okay. Like, it's been an ongoing theme with them where they just do not like each other. You saw Roman's reaction to him during WrestleMania, where it's like he had a decision to hit Cody with the chair or Seth with the chair, and Roman just had all that frustration, and he looked at Seth and hit him with the chair because Roman was getting flashbacks when he got hit in the back with that chair all those years ago when the Shield broke up. So it's like, how do you make sense in all of this? You can't just lump up teams together and just call it a day. You got to have like some sort of things thrown in there for it to make sense. Like, I'm not I'm not a big fan of the whole buddy things. Like, okay, we need to get together because it's a match and we need to have 5 people here. I mean, I'll come out and say this right now. If you want to do 5-on-5 for the woman, that's fine. But it's like with the men, I mean, just judging on what you built around so far, you don't really need like a 5-on-5 match. Because we even saw in old War Games matches, especially in NXT, you had a couple 3-on-3 matches or 4-on-4 matches. So it's like, it's not bad if you just want to do Roman, Jimmy, Jay, and Sammy against Solo Sikoa, Jacob Fatu, Tongaloa, and Tama Tonga. Like, I don't know. Everything's all over the place with that.
And that's it. And like that's my biggest thing with this. It's like, okay, I can accept Jay going back, because again, like you had touched on, some of the rules that Jay had with all this, but not only just that, it's like with a family bond, at least with my experience with like my family and all that, like you can have a fight with like your brother, your sister, and your cousins and all that, and like at the end of the day, you can come together and be like, all right, well, sorry about that, but like you can. I don't want to necessarily say, brush anything off like that, but like there's a more of an understanding when it comes to like family kind of making up and all that.
Yeah.
So like with Jay making up, kind of making up with Roman, that made a little bit more sense. Was it somewhat rushed? I could see the argument with that.
Mm-hmm.
The Seth thing, that goes a little deeper with that, because like it's not just like the whole betrayal thing. It's literally like, okay, this is on the level of. I would compare this to Naruto and Sasuke. If we're gonna use like anime logic with this, or like anime like instances to kind of like make sense of all this. I think of this as like Naruto and Sasuke, because it's like Sasuke left the village to pursue power. He joined Orochimaru, got the power, and like after a few years, he was able to overtake Orochimaru, all that mumbo jumbo with it. But like when then you have like a movie. I think it was like Shippuden movie 2. It was Bonds or some. It was something. It had one. It was one where Sasuke was involved somehow, and he just shows up out of nowhere and works with Naruto at the time. And you're thinking, okay, I know this is a movie. This is an anime movie, so it's non-canon. But it's like, why? You know, and they try to pull the whole argument of, oh, well, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. It's like, it goes a little deeper than that because of like the whole bond that they had and all that stuff. And like now you tie that in, like now let's kind of go back to wrestling now with this. Seth and Roman are kind of the same deal here, where it's like, okay, they split apart because one, you know, wanted power, he wanted to gain like the ultimate form and all that, and he was able to achieve that. He was able to get that, but at the cost of like severing bonds with people that he like made what's the fucking word I'm trying to look at? Like that's the thing. It's like there's a deep level with this where it doesn't make sense for Seth and Roman to come back together with this. And then like you just take this year, like with just the first third of the year. Like, I'm sorry, if I was whipped with a belt by somebody I used to call a brother and his cousin, if that happened to me, like live on TV in front of like 1,000 some odd people, I wouldn't want to team up with you. I wouldn't want anything to do with you. You want to mess around with Bronson Reed? All right, fine, bet. I'm going to take care of him on Monday and all that. And like again, I know what happens on Monday because you know, internet doesn't know how to use spoiler tags and all that. But like even still, it's just like, just be done with it. Just don't worry about it. You know, do the Kevin Owens thing. Like, they're not bothering. Or no, even better, do the Xavier Woods thing. Like, this isn't my fight. It shouldn't have to be my fight. I'm not going to get involved with it. I shouldn't get involved with it. And especially when it has to deal with Roman. And, like, that's what I loved about Seth's words on Monday. It was just like, you know, why am I going to help you build up the guy that I spent earlier this year trying to put down? Like, you really want me to do that? And I'm glad he brought up, too, with Sammy on Monday about, like, oh, Roman's just using you here, too, which I think might be where we're going with all this. Because, like, I spent a lot of time after this segment trying to, like, process what was going on and where we might be going with it. And, like, the only thing I can see going with it, because, like, we have a lot of time between now and Mania, and whatever Roman does for Mania. So it's like, what are we doing right now with the story? What is the story going on? Okay, Roman's trying to get power, but I feel like he's rushing to get power. And so he's doing these quick makeups with people. Like, look at how he made up with Jay. He only said yeet. He still really hasn't apologized to Jay, even with Sammy asking him to. And I mean, Jimmy, I mean, to kind of put into words like Jay said, Jimmy's kind of Roman's bitch right now. Like, he just went back to him and was just like, all right, let's get the band back together. But it's like with Roman, this is the thing that I still need from Roman. I need his characterization, his moment to actually grow.
Still the same
he
guy.
hasn't done that yet.
He's still the same. He's still the same guy.
Exactly, and we saw signs of that last week when, you know, Sammy came in to try to join the team and all that, and when he yelled at Jay to be like, "Oh, go find Sammy, then go have fun with him." Like, we saw those cracks formed. And we saw them tonight, too, a little bit, especially at the end of the night, which we'll touch on here in a little bit. But it's like, we're going to be building up to Roman finally coming to terms with everything.
Yep.
I don't know if that's going to come before War Games. I would prefer it after, because I'm sorry, after tonight, you know, people say what you will. I think Temu Bloodline's going over War Games.
No, I do, too, because there was a part of me thinking initially that maybe OG Bloodline might go into this and take it, but just based on how everything is being built up right now, and maybe it's being done for a reason. We never know. Maybe it's being pushed like this for a reason, where it's like, okay, you got everybody involved now. You think everything's going to be a clean sweep, but at the end of the day, it's not. And there's also part of me thinking maybe Team Bloodline needs it more. Just judging on, you want to build up that legitimacy when it comes to them. Because just basically looking at this, because what? Survivor Series is like, it's in 2 weeks. So it's like, I can't really see everything getting wrapped up in a snap of the finger when it comes to all this shit that's going on. Like, there's no way you could do something where it's like, I mean, technically, they got what? 1, 2, 3. They got 4 shows to add more into, okay, what's going on here. They got the Monday Night Raw, the SmackDown, the go home show for Monday and Friday, and then Survivor Series. So it's like, I still don't think 4 shows can cover apologizing to Jay. Not, and the whole thing with Sammy. Okay, I saved Sammy. That's not enough. So it's like you gotta build relationships with Jay and Sammy and all of them again, so everything's on the right page. Because that's why when Solo's out there, he doesn't really have to worry about anything falling apart, because everybody that he associates himself with, they all work alongside one another. They all understand the plan. They know whenever they're going out there, they know exactly what to do from beginning to finish. So I don't know, just looking at this, I don't really think Roman's gonna win. And also the possibility of Seth getting involved, where you don't really know if he's gonna want to really help you win or not, because realistically, if I was Seth Rollins, if I was a part of that match, I really wouldn't care if Roman wins the match, because how does this benefit me in the way? Does it give me a championship? Does it elevate me in any way? No, I'm just there just to help this guy that I don't give a shit about, so it's not really helping me in any way. That's another thing I'm thinking about, because it's like, if it was one of those things where it's like, okay, maybe this gets me somewhere out of this. No, it's not. It's just a one and done thing, and that's it. You're just throwing Bronson Reed in there because they're feuding. I swear to God, I really hope that isn't the only reason as to, okay, I'll work with you now because Bronson Reed's there. Like, no, you got to give me more than that, because at least with the Cody and Roman thing, even though people were against it at first, at least it made sense because they had a common goal. There's no common goal here when it comes to Seth working alongside them. Like I said, we don't know if it's a thing, but it's pretty much a thing. You don't just throw Bronson Reed in there and be like, oh, it's gonna be fucking Rey Mysterio next week.
Like right when he's in the middle of a program with Seth. No,
and especially
not just do that.
Especially since he was. It would be different if he was brought up once by Jay and they brushed it off, but he brought him up twice with Solo. So it's like, obviously they're building towards it for a reason. And I don't know if it's one of those things where it's like, okay, we got to get everybody involved now because The Rock's pissed and he sees Roman with Cody, and now he sees him with Seth, and then Rock's like, oh shit, Roman, you realize me and you teamed up to take out these clowns, and now you're working alongside them. Now you're giving me more things to shoot at you once me and you eventually head to head, because you're a loser and you're working with the enemy now. So I don't know if they're doing that, but it's like, at the end of the day, it's like, it still doesn't make any sense. Like, it's like there's a loophole here, because I even saw some people posting clips online where it's like, it was showing clips of WrestleMania of all the stuff that Seth did, and people are looking at it. It's like, without an explanation, it's almost like this doesn't make any sense anymore. It's like there's no continuity there.
Yeah. And like that's the thing, man. It's just like the two biggest pieces in all of this are Jay and now Seth. Like I'm not gonna say possibly Seth. It's gonna be Seth. You know. Those are your two biggest pieces. Sammy, I put in the same category as Cody, because they're both good guys. They're willing to, help out anybody that needs help. And I mean, Sammy proved that last week when he told Roman, apologize to Jay. Not me, Jay. That showed that, Sammy is in this to help. Just he mainly wants to help Jay, but like through that, he's going to be helping Roman and all that. Jay is a ticking time bomb when it comes to Roman. As soon as Roman does something messed up again, he's out of there. That could happen in this match, in this War
Yeah.
Games match. And with Seth, I mean, again, I just think back to his words on Monday. It's like he shouldn't have to
A lot of
team
logic
with
behind
Roman.
what he said. I mean, he
Yeah.
has a solid argument there as to why he shouldn't be taking any part in this. It's really hard to disagree with him.
And you know what? And I thought about this too while you were talking. So there's a rule in the War Games match where after the match starts, if somebody leaves the cage, it's thrown as a forfeit.
Yeah.
What if Seth just leaves?
Mm-hmm.
What if Jay and Sammy leave? Like, what if there's like a big argument that they have in there? Like right now, just in my mind, picturing, I'm seeing like Roman and Sammy kind of getting into it, and then Jay getting in the middle of that, and then like something happening where they just up and leave. Like, yeah, that's an anticlimactic ending and kind of sucks, but like when we're looking for story, when we're looking for things to progress in like a storyline and all that, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know if we've seen that. Like, that's been a rule in War Games.
Yeah,
But at least in modern times, I haven't seen anybody just straight up leave the cage and be like, "We're done," and then that be the end of the match. Like, again, that would suck for your main event. Like, don't get me wrong, that's basically like a DQ finish for your main event, or like a no contest. But like, at least story wise, it would make sense, you know?
Yeah.
But I mean, because that's the thing. Like, this team of like Sammy, Jay, Jimmy, Roman, and Seth, it's I don't see it working at all for War Games, you know?
No.
Like, yeah, it'll work out fine at the beginning, but like Solo's group is just such a well-oiled machine, and then then you have two freaking monsters, like absolute beasts in freaking Jacob Fatu and Bronson Reed, you know. And I know, we've had teams where they've had like big monsters on their side and all that, and they still lose, and it's like, okay, yeah, that's there, but it's like it feels a lot different right now with those two guys on that team.
Yeah.
Like, I just want it to make sense. I just really want it to make sense.
I do too. That's why I'm hoping there's like something on Raw that gives us something. I don't want it just to be that match between Seth and Bronson, and then they just leave it at that. No acknowledgement throughout the rest of the night, and they just focus on other programs that's going on in that show. Like, I'm hoping there's like something thrown in there, because it's really hard to really look at this and be like, okay, this is fine, let's move on, let's see how it goes and everything. It's like, I don't know. That's why it's like everything the way it was aligned before with the 4-on-4, everything was smooth sailing. You could have done so much with that, but it's like now that, you know, Solo brought up the whole 5, you got to have 5 people on your team. I don't know. It's almost like it's feeling forced at this point, where it's like the story you're building before with the 4-on-4 was perfectly fine. Now you're just incorporating these other guys just because they have an ongoing feud with one another. That's why when me and you were talking about Raw on Monday, and I gave my thoughts on the show, I wasn't a fan of Seth and Bronson Reed happening on a Monday Night Raw, because of this very reason. I felt like it could have been on another pay-per-view, and also because I don't want their storyline being incorporated with the Bloodline storyline when it has no correlation at all. That's almost like you're putting a whole bunch of names in a hat, and then you pick one and you pick another, and then you just make a storyline out of that. It's like you're putting the fucking Easter Bunny setting on a path into like the fucking Christmas season. Like, doesn't make any sense.
Why? Yeah, exactly. And I am glad, though, we at least had a little extra caveat with our Bloodline story tonight. Because, after the main event, we had a short little segment. Because, part of after, the beatdown and all that, and even before then, too, Jay kept telling Roman, make the call. You got to make the call. You got to make the call. And at first with me, I was thinking, okay, is he just talking about from like a quarterback standpoint, being like, okay, you got to make the call, leader. Like, what are we doing? Who can we call on? Like, how do we move forward and all that? And at the end of the night, we got to see kind of what Jay's talking about. Making the call seemed to have been made towards Paul Heyman. Now, there was a part of me though. There was a part of me because also with like the whole make the call lines being said, I also thought that Jay was mentioning, hey, make the call to Seth. Because like Seth is your supposed former best friend and all that. So like I thought maybe that's where it was gonna go.
That's
and
what
like
I thought.
maybe that would kind of ease us back in there, you know?
I thought it was a talent. That's what I thought.
A what?
I thought it was a talent.
Oh yeah. And it might have been though, because there was slight hesitation in Roman.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why he ended up trying to call Paul, because he wanted to know Paul's understanding of everything. Because again, like we're learning, like at least with the story going on right now, Roman needs to learn to be his own wise man.
Yeah.
And right now he still can't do that. He can't, because he's still the same old person. And so he tries to call Paul. And it goes not only straight to voicemail, but saying that, you know, the number is inactive and all that. And, I mean, there is continuity with that because, you know, Paul's phones were destroyed and all that. But I'm just curious. It's like, you would think, you know, even just in kayfabe, and I mean, I had said this too, like, off stream and all that. It's like, in kayfabe, with Paul Heyman's job of being, like, a manager and, like, especially, like, being as close as he is to Roman, you would think, you know, because it'd be one thing if like the Paul beatdown happened like maybe a week or two ago, then you'd be like, okay, fine, whatever. But like it's been months, and you're telling me that even in kayfabe, Paul Heyman not only hasn't gotten a new phone, but hasn't tried to contact Roman at all, like or even vice versa. Like, has Roman not even tried to contact Paul?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, well, okay. Now I'm remembering back earlier this year too, because like, weren't there lines of Solo saying that he was talking to Roman? Like, because Paul. Oh fuck! Wait. Okay. Yeah. I think my memory's now jogging again. Because like, weren't there moments where like Paul didn't speak with Roman? And like Solo was saying that he was talking. That's right. That was a whole big thing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was a big thing. Shit. Okay. All right. We're see this is why I love doing live shows, because like we're able to like talk about everything and like fit the pieces together and all that. Okay. All right. So this segment, because I also have another theory with it too. Because you have the whole continuity thing with the phone and all that stuff, but like a part of me too also thought that maybe Rock has Paul hostage, because again, Paul's the wise man. He's the one that helped Roman get to the level that he was at. So keeping Paul Heyman away from Roman keeps him away from gaining power back. So I want to hear your thoughts drop about all that and like just where your mindset is with everything, because like again, talking through it more and more, it's just like, okay, the pieces are falling into place, the memories coming back and all that. So I want to hear from you about all of this.
So it's like part of me, like when it comes to that segment alone, is also making me think maybe there's a thing that they're trying to do where they don't want Roman to rely on Paul when it comes to situations like this, like basically playing into what you said about him becoming his own wise man and learning how to make decisions on his own without having to rely on a hotline all the time. So it's like maybe that's a reason why they did that, where it's like, come on, Roman, you have to make the move, not Paul Heyman. You have to make the move. So maybe that's why that was shot right there, as well as, you know, the current story that's being played out as to what happened and why there's no communication and everything. But you also have to keep in mind as well as like, when is The Rock going to get involved? Because The Rock recently
Mhm.
showed his face during the end of Bad Blood, and he did the throat slash, which obviously that probably means, okay, you're working with this guy, like I said earlier, that we joined forces together to take down. Now you have one of your cousins working with him, and obviously Rock's probably paying attention to what's going on in the show, and now you're seeing
Yeah.
things like, okay, now you're trying to get Sami Zayn back, you're trying to, get Seth involved again in some way, so it's like, it seems like everything we did was all for nothing, so there has to be a point of like when Rock shows up, or not even shows up, he could easily film like a segment and it airs on SmackDown. I mean, I'll take a vignette,
Yeah.
something like that. He doesn't necessarily need to be there, but at least add some sort of layer to the story, because you got to figure out when is he going to be thrown into all of this, because there's like a part of me where it's making me think it's like, you got to do something with that cliffhanger that you left at Bad Blood. You can't just leave it open-ended like that, because even the
Yeah.
following Friday, they never acknowledged it, which is pretty strange, because it's like,
Mhm.
you didn't see Cody say anything, Jimmy didn't say anything, Rock didn't say anything. Roman was just
Yeah,
talking
just
about
let it
Solo
happen.
and everything like that. So it's like, why appear if you're not going to capitalize on it? Doesn't have to be something super huge, but it's like, where are you going with this? And then the thing you said earlier about him possibly taking advantage of Heyman, that definitely could be the thing where maybe he's watching over Heyman. He doesn't want Heyman to get
Mhm.
involved with Roman again and all that, because he knows that Heyman would guide him down a direction where, okay, Roman might actually have, something above us now that has like a solid plan because of Paul Heyman, where he could have, take
Yeah.
us down and everything, because we know Paul Heyman was able to orchestrate a lot of things that helped him to be in the position that he's in now. So that could be another reason why he's not involved. But there's a part of me thinking that maybe they're doing it for character purposes, where they're trying to keep him away from Heyman, and then when Heyman shows up, then you could have one of those things where Heyman could look at Roman and just see how much he's improved, have that acknowledge it
Mhm.
from him, where it's like, I'm very proud of you. You were able to figure all of this out on your own without me, and obviously he'll be a mainstay moving forward when it comes to the bloodline at that point. But it's like, you got to figure out like what's going on with Heyman now, what's going on with Rock, because we're in November now. More weeks until Survivor Series. You got Saturday night's main event,
Mhm.
and usually a lot of big things happen at those. If you looked at past years, all the way in the past when that was a thing that went on, a lot of big things
Yeah.
happen at those shows. So it's like, how are we going to end this year off? Because we saw that last year, how they ended it off with Survivor Series, how they ended off like their last big moment when it comes to the main roster. Obviously, they have Saturday night's main event now, but it's like they always
Mhm.
ended off on something big when it comes to the end of the year. Last year
Yeah.
was CM Punk's return. Doesn't have any correlation with Bloodline, because Bloodline wasn't really a center of focus around that time. But it's like, you had the big CM Punk return. Everybody couldn't stop talking about, which, I mean, I can't blame them. So it's like, you got to figure out what Bloodline angle are you going to close off this year? Or you're going to be like, holy shit, I can't wait to tune in to that first episode of Netflix to see how things
Yeah.
unfold from here, leading into the Royal Rumble, and then that Saturday night main event in January, and then the Elimination Chamber and WrestleMania. It's like, you got to throw these other things in there, because Heyman has been gone for quite some time, so it's like, you got to be. It has to come to a point. You got to bring him in. I mean, you're already gathering a lot of the OG members anyway. You might as well just throw Heyman in there. I mean, he's the only
Yeah.
guy that's really missing at this point. So it's like, what's going on here?
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I don't know, dude. Again, I just want the logic of it. A lot of what I'm saying is very reactionary, so I do get that and all that. But it's like, This is a weekly show. This is a weekly product. So yeah, you are going to be getting a lot of reactionary moments like
Hmm.
this, but like we are trying to rationalize everything, and I pray that WWE does at least write it in a way that makes it make sense, because this was always my worry with leading into war games, because like it's one thing if we're doing all this, but you gotta be careful with the writing going into it. And right now
Hmm.
we're teetering a little bit. We're straddling the line a little bit. So I don't know about you. I'm ready to move on though, because we got other things to talk about tonight as well. Like a lot of other good things that happened tonight.
Oh yeah.
Mm. So one of those things had to deal with Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens because hey, Kevin Owens beat up Randy Orton last week, and so Cody now has to respond to that. And I mean, he started our night off quite well with a really good promo, basically calling out Kevin Owens, being like, "Hey, come on out here and take your ass whooping." And Nick Aldis interrupts, and he's trying to trying to calm Cody down, and just like, this is going to be dealt with internally. We don't need our WWE champion to get hurt now, by taking a pile driver and all that. And I like Cody right here because like he's being as patient as he can be, but he's also letting Nick Aldis know, look, I can either handle this in the ring in business, or I can do what we normally do, or what we can do, or what we have done, and go to Kevin Owens' house and beat him up outside of his front lawn. Like, I could do that. So, next week, I guess we're going to get Kevin Owens back on SmackDown.
Yep.
And yeah, because I mean, he had a video in his car earlier with that, which just adds another layer to it, too, because it's like, it, when you look at Nick Aldis's words here, because like he says Kevin Owens isn't there, but like apparently they told him not to come in when he arrived there. So it's like, okay, are they punishing him for doing what he did to Orton? Are they trying to protect Cody? Like, what are they doing in like at least management? Like, what are they doing for this feud to like really make things as they are right now? Because it's like they're trying to keep the peace, but it's they're making it kind of worse, which I kind of want to give props to Adam Pearce because, like, yeah, as much as people say, oh yeah, the Raw is just in the inmates run the asylum over there, basically, but it's like, yes, they do. There's a lot of brawls, a lot of pull away brawls, but it's like at least they're kind of getting it out.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you still have Bronson Reed, putting Braun Strowman through a vehicle, but it's like they're still getting that out. They're still like having their fights and all that. So it's like, what are they doing on SmackDown to make things even worse? Because like again, they're holding these guys back from just letting it out. Um, but yeah, I thought this promo from Cody was really good.
Oh yeah.
Like again, Cody just has a good way of sucking you into a story and making you be more invested in it than you already are.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I really like about Cody Rhodes is that he's a great storyteller. He makes you feel the intensity of everything that's currently going on with the product, especially when he's trying to, build a match with whoever he's in a feud with. And you could sense the realism when it comes to Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens within their feud because like Cody said, when he won at WrestleMania, that was a big moment. And that's obviously something that Cody's going to be remembering for a lifetime because he had his wife come out there. He had all of his friends. He even
Mhm.
mentioned that one moment with Randy where it's like, Randy said, Cody, man, I'm really proud of you. And that adds a lot of layers because you got to look at those years when Randy had Cody under his wing. He was pretty much um bringing him to where he's going to be now. And Cody Rhodes went from somebody that was nothing and he's one of the biggest superstars in the world. And that's honestly, a great thing to see because he definitely deserves to be in the position that he's in right now. But looking at what he said there, all of that emotion about WrestleMania 40, his relationship with Randy, that a lot of people care about. That's why a lot of people are saying, once they have that match, it's going to be one of Cody's
Mhm.
best feuds because of just the history alone between those two. There's just so many things you can dive into when it comes to legacy, when it comes to Dusty Rhodes, Randy's father, you know, etc. So on. There's just a lot of stuff to add into each other because they know each other like brothers. They know their all their moves. So the fact that Randy's getting taken out of the equation, you got the pile driver getting involved, and I like how they're emphasizing that, yeah, this is a banned move. We haven't used it all the time, which is why I didn't have any issues with the execution of the move last week, because I did see some people online like, oh, that looked like a safe pile driver. Like, why didn't they hit it like they normally do? And then I look at it where I'm like, it's not about how the move was executed. It's about the move being used to itself, because we don't see stuff like that in WWE. Just like when we saw blood being incorporated within CM Punk and Drew McIntyre's match, that just adds to the realism of that fight, where it's like, holy shit, you know, these guys are going to war. They're tearing each other apart. It's that rarity that you see within WWE, where it's like, if you were looking back at the early 2000s and the 1990s, you saw this shit every fucking week. But now that rarity gives it that special feel where it's like, when it happens, you know, it actually means something, not something that you see every single week, and then all of a sudden it just becomes a norm. So hitting a move like that, bringing it up again to really say that, you know, this is something that we don't normally do anymore, you know, that's saying something. That's almost like if Kevin Owens comes out next week and he starts doing headshots with the chair. I mean, that's another thing that WWE doesn't do anymore because of how unsafe it is and how CTE might come in effect with that. When it comes to the headshots and stuff like that, because that was a big thing around that time. That's the whole reason why they put a stop to it, because of how dangerous it could be. So it's like incorporating like this other side of Kevin Owens I really like, because we discussed on this podcast for quite some time now when it comes to Kevin Owens' character, how he needs something to really add something to him, because Kevin Owens is great in ring worker. He's great on the microphone. He has the whole package. Kevin Owens is a main eventer. We all love Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens is great. Definitely deserves a title down the line. Hopefully he gets it, because he hasn't had one since like 2016. Very long time. So this dude, I mean, it's a whole Finn Balor situation. Yeah, it's a whole Finn Balor situation when it comes to like eventually getting the world title again. But it's like just looking at this Kevin Owens that we're building right now, it's great. You're bringing back the prize fighter Kevin Owens, because prize fighter Kevin Owens is very vicious. And if you want to bring that version of Kevin Owens into this storyline with Cody Rhodes, it's needed just based on what you did with Randy and how you want to actually add some level of care to this match. Because if Cody came out next week and he was having a program with Santos Escobar, no correlation whatsoever, we're not going to give a shit. But it's the fact that they're actually incorporating all these things, and you're looking at how close they were and where they are now. It's needed. And it's also very interesting as well, because I'm not saying this is adding to the whole storyline with Kevin Owens, because I don't think it is, but we also know he has a contract ending soon, and I highly doubt his whole contract ending towards the end of the year has anything to do with the storyline. But it's also really interesting just to see this new character from Kevin Owens, because I feel like it's needed. You know, no more Grayson Waller, no more Austin Theory. A serious and deadly Kevin Owens is awesome. So that means we're going to be seeing Kevin Owens, you know, pull out these moves that we don't normally see. I'm not saying he's going to hit a pedigree next week, but it's like, you know, seeing the apron power bomb. I can definitely see that being used if him and Cody go at it at Survivor Series, which is definitely the program, which I'm happy they're keeping in line with, which thank God, you know, Cody and KO are not involved with this whole War Games match or Bloodline, because I would not be a big fan of that, because it makes no sense. Cody doesn't really make sense to get involved in the Bloodline again, because Rock's not there. Plus, KO would kind of be contradicting his whole character arc as a whole if he worked alongside Solo. It would be kind of stupid, but I like this. Because I definitely feel like as well, is when it comes to like a lot of the feuds that Cody has been in, something like this, and the stuff with AJ Styles is great when it comes to matches alone. Stuff with Logan Paul, the matches weren't the problem. It's just some stories that people really wanted to get hooked into, to sink their teeth into, that to feel really invested in it. I feel like this program so far, when it comes to Cody being the champion, you know, outside of like the whole Roman Reigns thing, I feel like this might be the best thing that we've gotten so far when it comes to a real a legitimate feud that feels personal, if you get what I'm trying to mean.
Yeah.
Because for the most part, it's kind of like some of the other feuds for like for bragging rights of like who's the better guy. I can beat you.
I mean that was basically the Logan Paul feud.
Yeah.
Like that was just like, oh,
Yeah.
Logan's gonna come for the title, but you can't come for
Yeah.
his title because you know.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like I like how you get that real feel. It's like, oh, you could feel this hatred between Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes because, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but those normally make the best feuds when they actually feel personal.
Oh yeah, no.
So it's like
the best feuds, the best stories are grounded in reality.
Yeah.
Like because you can relate to it. You can be like, okay, I get you. It's like one of the things that Kevin Owens said tonight. He basically said, you know, I came into work last week and did my job. So next week, all right, I'm gonna do my job. But the way he said it, like just so visceral and so like the anger, the hatred, like he hates Cody right now, and like he's using the justification of, oh, this is my job, and it's just like, you know what, part of you is right, you know, yeah, this is your job to, you know,
and
basically hurt somebody. Like you go to work, beat people up, and that's it. Like granted, you know, you're beating people up outside of a match, but like you're still, you know, you are technically doing your job, so you are correct in that aspect. But like, yeah, and like a couple other things I wanted to point out too with all this. So like Cody had mentioned that he's basically taking responsibility for all this. He's saying that like Randy's injuries from last week's pile driver were his fault. And I feel like that line alone is going to be used in that eventual Randy Orton Cody Rhodes feud, because Randy could turn that around on Cody and be like, yeah, you know what? It is your fault. If you didn't team with Roman, if you didn't do this, if you didn't do that, I wouldn't have had like a month or two off my career because of that. You know, Kevin Owens wouldn't have turned and all that. Like I could see it, Randy turning that, because like again, he's kind of a snake. He's kind of a dick. Like he can easily turn that around on Cody and everything. There was something else too. Oh, here's a question, because so during my commute home, mainly on Fridays, I do listen to the Cultaholic Wrestling podcast, and they were touching on last week's SmackDown for it, and they were mentioning that with Kevin, because they had mentioned, you know, the whole safe pile driver thing, and it makes sense because A, it's in the realms of WWE logic, which, you know, it's a banned move and all that, but also look how old Randy Orton is. He's like, what, 45, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, he should not be taking a pile driver at his age. Like, he should not be taking moves like that. So yeah, the move is going to look safe. And yeah, they are going to sell the shit out of the move like they did last week. So it's like, people, especially people like us who watch a lot of wrestling in and outside of WWE, so like the whole pile driver thing, you kind of get desensitized to it. But like again, you just got to put it in the realms of WWE. It's like, it's a banned move. It's a very dangerous move to them, and just in general too. Like, it's a very dangerous move. Like, you've seen people lose their lives almost. I mean, Stone Cold's career almost ended. Freaking, what was it? Who's the other one I'm thinking of? Trying to think of. I think I'm just thinking of Owen Hart. Or yeah, like, people have legitimately got hurt from a pile driver, whether it was taken safely or not. Like, they legitimately have. So, I don't know. It's just, I get that reasoning, because I could see that, but I don't know. This is WWE. Like, it's just a different product than what you might watch other hand.
You also have to keep in mind as well when it comes to Kevin Owens. I mean, it's really hard to argue with him when it comes to his reasoning, because he's justified with the actions that he's making. So it's like, you can't really say, Kevin Owens, you know, why are you going out here doing this to Randy and this to Cody? I mean, you gave him all the fuel he needed to really venture out and do all of this on his own, because one of the things that Kevin Owens was doing for years on end was dealing with the bloodline, and now him looking at somebody that he actually got close to, which they actually took some acknowledgement in, when it's like, yeah, he turned in a lot of people in the past, but this was the only time that Kevin Owens actually felt close to people. So it's like seeing how things played out with Cody and Randy and why it led up to this because of what happened with the team up at Roman and everything else going on. I mean, he's justified in his actions. Are they right when it comes to putting Randy out of commission with the power driver and stuff like this? No, obviously. But it's like, you can't really say it's not justified because he has legitimate reasons as to why he's doing it. It's not like he's doing mindless things where it's like, okay, I just want to do this just because I want my name in the spotlight and I want everybody to talk about me, so I'm gonna put Randy Orton in a pile driver, and then next week I'm going to attack Cody Rhodes and hit him across the face with the chair, and then the week after that I'm going to be doing like a pile driver like off the top rope onto like the ground outside of the ring. It's like he's not doing it for shock value. He's doing it because it's like, I mean, it makes sense. And again, like I said earlier, you know, when you add like that realism within the storyline, it just fits as a better story.
Yeah, it does. And so here's a question, because like, especially with like Kevin's words tonight during his little car interview, he had mentioned, you know, he's gonna come next week to Salt Lake City and do his job. And I'm sure you've seen reports too about how like the plan is gonna be Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes at Saturday night's main event for the title.
Yeah, I'll take that for grain of salt for the time being, because I know where that came from.
Yeah. The fucking source, dude.
Yeah, all I'm gonna say is
can't with that
this year alone, like no disrespect towards the man himself, but track record hasn't been the best this year.
Look, just know that a certain other brand was number one in the ratings, right behind the news and whatever the fuck bullshit it was anyway.
Also, another thing to really say, like just like add on to that, is to look at it this way, it's kind of like, could we really call it a report when it makes sense? It's almost like me saying, oh, Naomi, look, actually I'll use this as an example. It's like me saying Naomi pinned Nia Jax in a match, so technically that means there's a match set next week, and then a report comes out, Drop This Box says that Naomi versus Nia Jax is taking place next SmackDown because she pinned the champion. Like, where it's when you look at it, where it's like, I mean, that makes sense. She pinned the champion. So besides winning a number one contenders match, if you pin the champion, I mean, that automatically gives you a title shot just by default. But it's like,
it's really just like when,
But it's like, could I see it at Saturday night's main event? That depends if they want to play it out that long, because when is it? So we got 1, 2, 3, 4. We got 4 more.
Yeah, so basically it's 4 weeks. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so we got 4 more weeks until we see that the Saturday night's main event take place. So it's like, could I see it there? Sure, I could see it being, I could see it happening there. But it's at the same time, I'm thinking in my head where I'm like, are they really going to leave Cody and KO off of Survivor Series? Because I could see a match, unless some shenanigans happen, but it's like, it's kind of hard for me to not see Cody on Survivor Series.
I could see it in a way that Kevin tries to do a move on Cody next week.
What's another band move?
That does take him out for like another couple weeks, you know, because it's like, because Cody at least could bounce back from like an attack like that. Like, it could just be as simple as like a headshot, like a chair headshot, you know. It could be that simple, or it could be like another pile driver, you know. but they could have it to where Cody recovers faster from that than Randy does, because like with Randy you sell it because of his back injury and
Yeah.
like the surgery he had to do. Oh my God, sorry, short little tangent here. Fucking Logan Paul's coming out with his brother, so I hope they both eat shit tonight. Anyways, back to Cody and all that. So Cody, like, he could bounce back from an attack like that from Kevin Owens, I feel. Comparatively to Randy. So like if Kevin did do something next week, hey, that takes Cody out at least the week after that, which is the go home week. And then he comes back the week after that. That's at least setting up, like, that's 2 weeks already before, or no, 1 week before the pay-per-view. And then you have the go home week. So yeah, you would have 2 SmackDowns to kind of build after Survivor Series. Which I think I think I said this either Monday or last week too. It's like right now what they're doing, I feel like, is they're trying to build up for Saturday night's main event after, like, they're trying to build up a few things for Saturday night's main event to make it big, but they're also doing a few things that will be coming for Survivor Series too. Like, for example, for Raw's side, we already have a world title match with Damian Priest and Gunther. We're going to be having our women's War Games match being set up right now. We have our men's one already set up. So, like, we already got, like, at least 3 matches. 2 of them will last at least minimum 30 minutes because of, like, time limits and all that for people coming into the match and all that. And, I mean, the Bloodline War Games match, I could see that being 45 to an hour.
Yeah, it's definitely
Like,
closing up the show for sure.
Yeah, so it's like, you're going to be having a 5-match card for Survivor Series. I mean, why not just push it for Saturday night's main event? I mean, again, it makes that show even bigger.
Yeah, could do that.
Yeah, so we'll see what they do. We'll see all that stuff, but that's basically the main event. Go ahead.
I was going to say, since we are on the topic of Saturday night's main event, this definitely a good segue into the women's U.S. title tournament taking place tonight, which I had a feeling it was going to happen. I just didn't know when they were going to do it, but it makes sense why it took place. You made the announcement last Friday, so it makes sense why you want to do it here. For some reason, I was expecting more than one match, but I'm okay with it because I guess you kind of have to space it out leading into it, so that's fine.
Yeah.
But we ended up having a match between Candice LeRae, Bayley, and B-Fab. And one of the things I do want to say that wasn't a part of this match is, I gotta say, I do like the presentation of B-Fab when it comes to her entrance, because I believe that's honestly the first time we've ever seen her come out with like entrance music alone, besides walking down the ramp with the Street Profits. So I really like that presentation. I like the music. I like the look of it and everything like that. It just flowed so well, and I'm honestly really happy that she had an opportunity to go out there and do something, which is really cool because at least it gives her that exposure. So if you want to go out there and use her again, I mean, you can do it, because we're looking to see something like that. I believe who was it in the background? It was Michin and B-Fab, and then Chelsea Green and Piper Niven. So it's like you got something building there. I don't know if there's going to be a match being built, because...
Well, I think like on the live show circuit that they've been doing, I think they've been doing tag team matches. Like, I think it's been those 4.
Yeah.
I know B-Fab's been teaming with Michin in those. Yeah, but... So she's at least been getting, some reps in and all that. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Like, the presentation is there for B-Fab. She was getting some pops tonight. Like, some of the moves she was pulling out, I like, the crowd were getting into her and all that. So, I applaud her on that. Plus, like, some of the offense she had was actually pretty cool. Like, the one that's kind of sticking in my mind right now, like, they called it like a neck breaker kind of thing. But, like, she kind of twisted Bayley up. She was going to go for a net breaker, but then, like, she kind of flapjaps her, like face first into the mat. Like, that was pretty cool and all that. But she had some good offense. Like, there were some times where I thought, she was going to win. And I'm like, oh, okay, great. I mean, that'd been cool. That'd be neat. But I think it was a very smart idea too to have her in a triple threat with Candice and Bayley because they're two awesome talents. I mean, Bayley's one. I'll go out on a limb and say Bayley's probably one of the best in the world right now. I mean, she's at least the most consistent. I'll say that. And then Candice, I mean, she's a hell of a worker too. So like, both of them did really well with making B-Fab look good because like B-Fab was on like she was on top most of this match. Like, I think it was before the commercial break. She had Bayley on the apron and Candice was inside, and she does like this double clothesline to both of them. Like that's innovative right there. Like you don't see that too often especially in a triple threat match.
Yeah.
And I like too, like with these triple threat matches we're getting, like we're not getting too much of the moments where it's like, okay, let me just throw this person to the outside so they can take a break for like a couple minutes. Like, yeah, they would have that, but it wouldn't be too long. It'd be like for a few seconds, and then like after a big move, the other would try to throw the one who did the move out so they could capitalize on the person who took the move. And there was another good spot too. It was the Tower of Doom spot where like Bayley has Candice up for like a superplex, and then B-Fab grabs Bayley for the powerbomb part. But like as they were coming down, Candice kind of like flips her body a little bit to kind of like land on Bayley, like almost in a crossbody. So like again, like we're showcasing our women. This is what we've wanted with the mid-card title, is to showcase our female talent that are in WWE. And with these sets of triple threat matches, we're getting that. Because, like, again, when's the last time B-Fab even had a match on TV? Like,
I couldn't tell you.
I can't remember. I would have to look it up. And, I mean, Candice and Bayley have been cooking for the past few weeks. Looking at the other triple threats too, let me bring up the bracket that we got. I mean, we're getting Bianca Belair, Chelsea Green, and Blair Davenport next week. Which Blair Davenport hasn't had a match in forever.
Oh my god!
Like, she hasn't been there in a
I
while. And I
can't
mean,
even recall when she was last there. If I'm being honest,
it was the last time the freaking witches were there. Like, it was around that time, whenever Clash of the Castle was going on. But while you're looking that up, like, our other two triple threat matches we're getting in this tournament, like, we have Jade Cargill, Michin, and Piper Niven, which that should hit pretty well. And then you have Naomi, Tiffany Stratton, and Elektra Lopez. And that last name alone, there's another one that we haven't seen in action in... I don't remember.
So the last time we saw her on, like, a SmackDown, besides, like, a Speed... Besides a Speed tournament and a dark match on SmackDown from October 25th was August 23rd.
Yeah, so that's what 3 months ago. So like it's been 3 months since we've seen Blair Davenport on our TV screens, and she's a solid worker, you know. But this is what we wanted with the mid card title for the women. It's to showcase them.
Yep.
Now, the interesting thing with this is, if you remember Nick Aldis last week saying SmackDown and Raw women.
Yeah.
And yet, right now, we have the women's side of the tournament. Do you think on Monday or this weekend we'll get an announcement that, here's the Raw side of the tournament? Or do you think we're going to just strictly stick it with SmackDown? Because, like, I'm hoping we get an announcement with the Raw side. Because
that's again, what I'm hoping, too. Because it's like, I even seen reports come out say that it was a floating title. And if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. Yeah. But I'm pretty sure I heard from that vignette, it was going to be a floating title. He did mention Raw and SmackDown. And I remember seeing reports pretty much saying that Raw and SmackDown when we're going to be competing for this title. But just looking at this bracket alone, it's just all girls from SmackDown competing for this title. And my only issue with this is not the tournament on SmackDown alone, but I'm not a big fan of having two mid-card championships. And I don't want people coming out there and saying, drops against women getting screen time. Obviously not, because we preach about that all the time on this show.
Yeah.
And we were pushing really fucking hard for this. You go back to the history of Weebs of the Ring. We've been talking about this probably like every segment,
almost weekly.
Even if it wasn't
almost weekly,
even if it wasn't, it didn't have any correlation to a match or a segment. It's something we always brought up. So that's not the case. That's not why I say it. The only reason why I do not want another one is because, to me, that kind of takes away the feel of it being like a singular title where you have all of these girls that aren't involved in the main event scene fighting for that one title to try to establish themselves. Because at least if you had somebody like a Bayley win this, or a Chelsea Green, or a Naomi or Michin, if you had people like that, for example, they could build with different people from different rosters. Oh, let's see Bayley have a match with Lyra Valkyria. What a great match that would be to see Bayley elevate Lyra, considering that Bayley's a veteran and Lyra is up and coming. Or if you had Naomi have a match with like somebody on Raw, let's say, for example, Naomi was going to have a match with Kairi Sane or Ivy Nile, someone along the lines of that, that would be something cool, because I like the whole thing where it's like, we got the mid-card belt, awesome, but it's like, I don't necessarily think we need more than one, because it comes to a point where it's like, the titles here, awesome, but why do we need two on each show? Because then you have two main championships for both shows, you got a tag team titles, and now you have two mid-card titles. Why do we need to? I can understand having a main title for the ladies on each show. That's fine, whatever, because you're going to do that with the men, you might as well do that with the women too, and it's fine. But it's like, having one mid-card title would have been best. Otherwise, you might as well just make that women's title brand exclusive then, and then do another women's title on Monday Night Raw. It just comes to the point where it's like, you have too many championships. It doesn't make any sense. That's why I would have kept it like this, because looking at this bracket right now, it's almost telling me like, okay, probably come January, once they're on Netflix and they got to add some time to Raw, considering it's going back to 3 hours. That's almost telling me like, okay, we're going to have another tournament. And funny enough, we are actually having another Saturday night's main event in January. So that's telling me right off the bat, and I'll go back to this if this does happen, but that's almost telling me, oh, we're going to have another tournament for the girls. It's going to be the Women's Intercontinental Championship, and then we're going to crown the winner at Saturday night's main event. That's almost it's kind of telling me that we're heading down that direction, but it's like, you got to give me something to work with where it makes sense. Otherwise, it's like, I don't get it. I don't get why we need more than one.
Well, then you run into the issue that I keep having with the damn tag team titles.
Yeah.
Where it's like, you focus so much on the one side of it that the other side just has nothing to do. I mean, like, with the Raw tag titles, they've defended it, what, once? Yeah. Twice, maybe? Maybe that? Like, they're just props over there. At least with SmackDown, which we'll get into, the tag team scene later on with SmackDown, like, they're at least doing shit with it. Yeah. There's at least a story going on. There's something to sink
multiple
your teeth
people
into,
too. Multiple
it's like
people too.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like, and that's the whole worry with if Raw gets its own like women's IC title. It's just like, one of them is gonna end up being secondary. It's gonna happen regardless.
What I was thinking too is, like, if you're gonna end up doing stuff like that, you might as well do process of elimination. You got to get rid of one of them. You're gonna bring another one in, because the way I'm looking at it, it's like you say, you got the women's tag titles going from brand to brand. Okay, that's smart, because you got Bianca and Jade working with the tag division in Raw and the tag division on SmackDown. But then you look at it where it's like, if you're doing that with the women's tag titles, why can't you do that with the men's? Because now it's kind of contradicting the whole thing with the men's division. Because even with the tag division they have now, it's not super deep. Especially if you're teasing the potential of splitting up certain teams, like we'll talk about a little bit later. So it's kind of like, it almost seems like you could have just kept the titles the way they were at WrestleMania and just have one set of titles and just float between brands. I would personally like that. I'm honestly surprised they don't just go back to that, because it's like, you know, you're going to bring in another women's mid-card title and stuff like that. Then, okay, you got to do process of elimination. You get rid of the Raw Tag Team title. You do a tournament. You know, you do like champion versus champion match. You combine the championships, and then you create a new title out of that. You know, something along the lines of that. That's almost telling me you need to do something like that, because my only worry with this is, are they going to put a lot of focus when it comes to the storylines that they want to do with the these mid-card belts? Are they going to be 2 to 3 minute matches, or is the stories going to really make any sense, especially since there's 2 now instead of 1? Because at least with 1, you could actually, you know, build something out of it. Now there's 2, so is both of them going to have equal timing? I mean, it just seems like it's oversaturation. It's almost like you're cooking some pasta. You got to make sure that you're paying attention to the pasta so it doesn't overcook. So once you drain all the water, it's not like all slimy and stuck together. Like, you got to pay attention when you're cooking that thing all the way through. That way everything falls apart. You can add everything in there to make it taste good, and you can have yourself a good meal. Like, I don't know what they're gonna do with this, but I mean at first, like, it's like the way that things were heading, it's like, okay, but now it's also telling me it's like, it's also part of me before just wanted like the original name for the title and then just keep it the way it is, because there was a part of me, I will admit, even though that it hasn't come out in existence yet, I mean, the whole thing with the Women's United States Championship just being called that, it's like, oh yeah, we're getting another one down the line, but I don't know what they're gonna do with this. But
I don't know either.
The thing with
the
outcome of this match,
I was just gonna ask you about that. I was just gonna transition to like the outcome of this one.
Yeah. So it's like, I'm not against it because I understand why they're doing it, because Bayley is an established name. Because I've seen people go online, and you keep in mind, you know, people are going to be saying stuff online, and half the time when they, you know, type something on the screen and you look back and review it, doesn't really make any sense. Because some people I saw were saying Bayley's the most overpushed horsewoman. She's a Grand Slam champion. She's a Rumble winner. She's a Money in the Bank winner. She has long title reigns, and she's always booked to be on top stories. Last time I checked, you know, you got people like Charlotte Flair in existence. You got Becky Lynch. You got Sasha Banks when she was in the company. Why weren't you complaining about them? Bayley had pretty much was one of the very first people. No, honestly, I will say her and Mercedes were the 2 ones that gave you all of this that you see today. They gave you all of this. They broke the barrier. That Takeover Brooklyn match that they had, that's very memorable and is still talked about to this day. That's what really it's what really pushed things into gear. And of course, with Stephanie McMahon advocating for the whole women's evolution pay-per-view and all of that. But that match alone is what gave you opportunities like that. That gave you a Hell in a Cell match. That gave you these matches that men were normally put into. Because if things were still the way they were, we wouldn't be having a war games match with the ladies. No, it's because of those 2 figures alone. If everybody else involved, of course, with like Charlotte and Becky and all of them, it's reasons why we have things like this. So I understand why they're doing Bayley, because she's a name people believe in. You put her in a tournament like this, and she goes up against the final person within the tournament, which I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest if she is. That at least gives the person that's going up against her, like, oh my god, this is going to be a big rub for her. Just like how we spoke about before with Candice LeRae pinning Bayley. That was a big rub for her. I mean, look where Candice is now. One of the things I will say, just to shine some light on Candice, I'm happy that she's relevant, because I can't say the last time I've seen her relevant every single week. She's not only getting involved at Bayley, now she's working alongside your women's champion on the main show. That's pretty good for her.
Yeah.
So it's like, Bayley
even when Candice was on NXT, she wasn't really showcased like this. I mean, she had matches and she had stories and all that, but like, it was never really, at least to me, it was never really something that like was able to show what she was all about, whereas like now, she's starting to get a little bit more momentum. We're starting to see that Candice LeRae. We're starting to see like how great she is in the ring and how like she can handle herself as a character too. I mean, even later on in the night when she comes back out to do shit like, and just it kind of ties in last week too, where she's like goes up to Nia and just like, hey, if I was in your corner, you would have won. And I mean, we're starting to kind of see that with everything, especially again later on when she helps Nia with her match and all that. Like, we're getting what we wanted with this mid card title, and with Bayley going over here, I'm fine with it, just like you are, because again, you want to establish your title, you want to make it mean something, and yeah, it would have been great for somebody like Candice or hell, even B-Fab to go over in this match to kind of continue on in the tournament. But with somebody like Bayley, who again, I'll say it again, she is the most consistent of the horsewomen. Having a talent like that continue on in this tournament and go forward, just it legitimizes your title even more. And also, see, this is why I love tournaments and like tournament arcs and all that, because like there are stories within this and all that. Because like when you look at the bracket, you had Bayley and Bianca on one side, and then on the other side you have Jade and you have Naomi. So like, I know those are like, different picks than what we already have for, each other thinking who's going to win the title and all that. But like, even then you still have the story of like, okay, Jade and Bianca, we're going to eventually get that clash. Will this tournament kind of add fuel to that, with Bianca and Jay trying to one up each other, or like maybe one doesn't get through the tournament and the other does? Like, there's a caveat with that. There's also the possibility that WWE can hotshot that and have Jade and Bianca be the final. Again, I'm just spitballing things here. I'm not saying that's a definite, but just hear me out with some of these spitball things. But like, the other story too you have is Bayley and Naomi, because like they're best buddies, they're trying to be something together and all that, and like what if they end up meeting each other in the finals? Because then it's just going to be like, okay, well, may the best woman win, but at the same time one of them has to make history and all that. So there's different avenues we can go down, and like there's also the whole Chelsea Green Mitchin thing, because they're also on different ends of the spectrum. They're also like people that fight each other a lot and all that. Because I mean, I know I have my Chelsea Green agenda going into this whole U.S. title thing, and Mitchin is also somebody that should be rewarded for the work that she's put in. So like, there's a lot of good in this tournament. There's a lot of good happening, and there's a lot of good talent that is gonna make this title mean something. And my only hope is that the booking afterwards reaches those levels, the levels that we kind of wished the tag titles would have,
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, a little bit of a tangent right there, everybody. But hey, we love our female superstars, and we just want the best for them. And I think they are getting the best that they'll be offered for right now, at least. But I think we should move on, because we have another mid-card title to talk about. We have the United States Championship on the line in an open challenge. LA Knight comes out and issues a challenge to anyone on the roster who wants to have a piece of him. And who answers the challenge but good old... It's funny, in our group chat, you had been like, if it's Santos Escobar, I swear. And out comes Legado del Fantasma. I want to know your thoughts. What was going through your mind when, like, after you had sent that message and then Legado started coming out? What was going through your mind when that happened?
When I initially saw this, I mean, I saw it from a mile away, if I'm being perfectly honest, because now that Mello and Andrade aren't involved with LA Knight now, because it really wouldn't make sense just to float back to that after we've been dealing with that for the past month or so. But it's like, as soon as I saw LA Knight come out for an open challenge, I'm like, I don't want this to be Santos Escobar. And it's not because I don't care about him and I think he's a terrible ring worker or anything. It's basically what LA Knight said himself. We've seen this already. I beat you. Why do we need to do it again? So when LA Knight said that, I'm like, okay, you agree with me. We have seen this because honestly, this isn't the first time that LA Knight has opened up a open challenge, and Santos Escobar came out again. So it's like, I'm one of the few people. Actually, I can't say I'm one of the few people. I'm one of the people out there that like seeing fresh things play out. We've seen the Santos Escobar and LA Knight thing. I mean, that's pretty much what was going on before Carmelo Hayes and Andrade got involved. So when he came out, I'm like, I don't want to see this. And then you had Humberto get involved, which cool, a nice change, but at the same time, Legado del Fantasma's still involved. And again, he's beaten these people before, regardless he gives the opportunity to. This is honestly LA Knight's first feud he had when he was moving on from Logan Paul after he won that U.S. title. Again, with Santos Escobar was the first feud. He took down his little henchman, and then he got Escobar, and then he beat him. So it's like, I didn't want to see this because I'm like, come on, man, you got to have some solid plans for LA Knight. I don't want to see this. Yeah. So it's like, once we had Nakamura come back towards the end, I'm like, okay, this is new. It's fresh. We haven't seen an interaction between Nakamura or LA Knight, and we also haven't really seen Nakamura on television ever since he got drafted to SmackDown to begin with. So it's like, okay, this is good because it's something fresh, something that we haven't seen before. So I like the direction that they're heading down. My only thing I do want to say about this, because I'm not against it at all on the slightest, the only thing I do want to say about this is that I hope he has a better presentation. And what I mean by that is when he was kicking things into gear with Seth Rollins, it was going pretty smooth. And then when he moved on to Cody Rhodes, things were getting pretty interesting. But I'm hoping that Triple H puts him in a situation where it's like he brings Nakamura to that level that he was before, because you probably remember like how crazy the audience was whenever he comes out, and they still are. But it's like, you look at Nakamura, realistically, he should be one of those main event guys in the show aiming for the top title, just based on the ground that they built him on when it came to how he was presented in NXT. He should be one of those guys where it's like, okay, who's Cody going to be in a program next with? I'm not saying we need to venture down that because we've seen it, but it's like, realistically, it'd be like, okay, we got a main eventer like Nakamura, we could do something with him. Or we got somebody like, that's hasn't really been put onto that spotlight, but they should be on that spotlight. So it's like, I'm hoping coming out of this program, because I definitely do look at Shinsuke Nakamura as a main eventer. I don't look at him as a mid-card guy. But it's like, I'm really hoping coming out of this program that he gets elevated in some way that makes him feel important. So it's not the same presentation that we saw before, and then it felt flat. Like, I'm hoping there's something that comes out of this. I'm really hoping you don't change his theme song. You don't need to change his theme song. I don't want to hear I don't want to hear like some heel version of his theme song. Just keep the theme song the way it is. Like, one of the famous sayings is, don't fix something that's not broken. So it's like, just keep it the way it is. And let's see exactly where he goes now, because I kid you not, this is probably something that I never really thought of when it came to potential challenges for LA Knight. So the fact that it's actually happening caught my interest. But my main concern really is just, I'm hoping he has a better presentation when it comes to him feeling important, because I do know that there is, some feedback when it comes to fans. Not saying what they say matters all the time, because half the time we don't really know where a lot of these complaints come from online. But one of the things I can agree is that his current presentation for a while now hasn't been the best, and I'm just hoping that it gets put on that scale again where it's like, okay, this is where Nakamura needed to be all along.
Yeah. Yeah, and I hope that too, because like Nakamura is one of my favorites. I mean, God, I the first time I got introduced to Nakamura was that AJ Styles match in New Japan. Like that match was awesome. And then he comes into NXT, faces Sami Zayn. That match was also awesome. And like his match with I think he faced Finn for the title, for the NXT title.
Hmm.
I think it was Finn Balor.
For what?
Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments and chat and all that. But like, yeah, I want him to be up at that level again, like because he is a main event talent. He is somebody who can be a contender as long as you book him well, and like he just needs to win on all that. And I think my only concern with his program coming up with LA Knight is I guess just their in-ring chemistry. Like,
Yeah.
and that's nothing, that's like not a knock against either of them.
Hmm.
It's just sometimes you have good chemistry with somebody and sometimes you don't. And I've noticed a lot of times, or at least a few times with Nakamura, the chemistry just isn't there with whoever he's facing. Now I say that, but I can't really think of any off the top of my head at the moment because, like, again, he hasn't been on our screens in a while, so like he hasn't really been in my thought process with everything. But like, I do remember at times being like, man, this match should be so much better, but it's not. It should be up a better level than all this, but. I'm just hoping LA Knight and Nakamura can bring out the best of each other. And like Nakamura even too, like I don't know if you noticed this as well, like it looked like he had some war paint on or like something like some sort of like paint red over his eyes.
Oh yeah, I did see that.
Um
Makes me think it was a new
yeah.
character.
Yeah, like that's what I'm thinking. It's just like, okay, is this gonna be like something new he's gonna bring to the table? Like how are we gonna incorporate this? Because like he's doing more or like his presentation right now, like he has like the black robes and all that, the black gi and all that, and like he was already wearing that beforehand too, but like he was wearing this. I don't know. There's just something different. I think it might have been commentary too, like calling him more of like the lone samurai or whatever it was. That I mean, it was mainly the samurai thing. Like instead of like the artist formerly known as Shinsuke or whatever bullshit they want to throw out. So like, I guess they're going more of like a lone warrior kind of thing, or like a last samurai kind of thing. I don't know. We'll have to see
Yeah.
where we're going with that. But like back with like this LA Knight Legado stuff. Like
Yeah, I'll be right
the
back.
match itself, yeah, go ahead. The match itself was fine. Humberto looked really good. The whole theme of tonight seemed to be, let's showcase some of our younger talent and like give them an opportunity to showcase a little bit. And we got that with Humberto. Like he had some good moves here. Like he had a great moonsault. He had this one drop kick where like he it almost looked like he was floating in the air, like almost like slow motion and all that. Like he looked really good doing that move. And like there was a moonsault that looked beautiful. Unfortunately, none of it was enough to beat LA Knight, but like that's the most important part with like when you're doing a match like this, like especially on weekly TV and all that. You want to make the other person look good in defeat, especially if they're a younger talent. And I say that about Humberto, but he's been around since like, gosh, I think they moved him up during I think it was during like the COVID times. They moved him up. Yeah, I think it was around that time. So like, we saw some of that stuff too then, but it's like we also heard on commentary like this is his first shot at a singles title. That's interesting. That's really interesting because like I don't. I had to think back. I was just like, okay, wait, is it Nani? Okay, I guess it is. So that was cool. He got his first shot, and hey, he showed up pretty well. He was able to at least show that he's got some talent. He's got the moves and all that stuff. So
Mm.
really happy to see that. But like, I think one thing that people are really going to be taking from this segment, mainly with like the Legato stuff the promo
Mm.
before where like LA Knight, he calls out whoever's going to come out. Legato comes out. Santos still trying to get that Escobar C over, which okay, fine, whatever. But like, it's just after that where he's just he basically says that Elektra's gonna call him daddy, and he's gonna make Humberto yell uncle while she's calling him daddy. Like that. A lot of people are saying this was one of LA Knight's best promo work. It's definitely up there because just not only from what he said, but just like the flow of the words he was saying and how easily he was saying it. Like this was a really good promo from him. And again, like if you're gonna cross words with LA Knight, you better be prepared for some sick burns on that end. But did you have any thoughts on the match itself?
Not necessarily. I mean, the main thing I was really heading into when it came to the bottom of all of this was just a new program for LA Knight, like I spoke about earlier.
Yeah.
You know, get away from Carmelo, get away from Andrade Santos, all of that, because we've seen it already. Not saying that they're bad talent by any means, because they're not, but it's like you want the people to get invested in something that's like, okay, this is interesting. We'll see where it goes. We haven't seen Nakamura for a while. He's actually still in WWE. We actually acknowledge he's still here. So it's like, it's nice to see that LA Knight's starting a program with Nakamura, because, like I said, that's something I would never have thought of. It's like one of my see, if I had the pen and everything was flowing the way things were going now, I probably would have had Ciampa and him in a feud right now. That's if I was in charge of the booking when it came to everything that's going on, because you can't disagree. That would be a pretty good fucking feud between the both of them.
Yeah, it would.
But it's I'm happy that, you know, Nakamura is at least doing something and he's still involved in some way, shape, or form. So that makes me happy. Again, just hoping the presentation is better and keeps people invested.
Well, just a quick little update on a boxing match. Well, it's over. Went all 8 rounds. I think Jake Paul won by points. Because like they're all like they're being respectful to each other and blah blah blah. So great. Cool.
Yeah.
Glad nobody had to pay money for that except for your Netflix subscription. Because glancing up and down from like us talking and seeing this fight. Good thing I don't watch boxing. So,
yeah.
Anyways,
I mean,
like, I'm sorry. I am sorry. That is.
I'll be honest. I'm not surprised with the result.
Yeah, 78, 74.
So here's the thing, and I might like sound like I'm being a little heelish here, but it's like I personally did not care about this match in the slightest at all whatsoever. I've heard people ask me, "Are you going to watch it?" My parents asked me about it. My girlfriend asked me about it. I told her, well, for one, I don't have Netflix. I am going to have to get it because I won't be able to watch Raw without it. But it's like there's a part of me that's like, I don't really watch boxing that much. I don't really care to see something that I'm not really invested in, because why am I throwing money at something if it's not benefiting me in any sort of way? But it's like I had a feeling Jake Paul was going to win the match anyway, because it's like, realistically, what is it really going to do for Mike Tyson? He already has that he already has that spotlight where everybody knows what the man's capable of. This is just a thing to give Jake Paul, you know, some bragging rights, to be like, I was able to beat Mike Tyson. You could throw that under my accolades. That's all I really looked at it as. I mean, I can only imagine.
Yeah.
I'm
looking at the response on Twitter. Rig the fight and give it to Tyson. There's one. A few of them that are saying, anyone who was at the fight, how much money did you waste on that garbage ass fight? Oh my gosh, wait, hold on. Sorry, everybody. We're going to go on a bit of tangent really quick.
Yeah.
Oh my god, fight of the year. One of the greatest in boxing history. And it's the guy from Ghostbusters going like, ugh. People expediting any different? Oh.
I can only imagine JD's reaction to this. I know JD went on his Twitch reacted, so I can only imagine the reaction. I'm gonna have to check it out later.
Let's see. Yeah, sorry everybody. We're gonna take a quick little pause from SmackDown. That was dumb. Okay.
Should we make this a time code or no?
Maybe. I don't know. I'm not on the timer right now, so
maybe this could correlate with LA Knight, because maybe after Nakamura, Jake Paul gets a title shot, considering he already beat his brother. So maybe Jake Paul, since he beat Mike Tyson, that gives him a way to get to LA Knight for the US Championship to get revenge for his brother. So
true.
Maybe that's what the whole message is behind his big victory over Mike Tyson. So definitely expect to see LA Knight versus
this is pathetic, really.
Jake
Tyson
Paul.
is looking all of 54, and Jake is a joke. Yeah. Oh my gosh, he didn't knock Mike out, so that's all I cared about. Julio. Absolute shite fight. Not worth any penny. Tyson is old and Paul is not a boxer. Oh yeah, people are crapping on it. Oh my gosh.
I'm not surprised. See, here's the thing. It's like, why do you bother complaining about something that you knew wasn't going to be good to begin with? Like, I'm just putting it out there, where it's like you really thought that this was going to be like groundbreaking any sort of way, shape, or form. It's just two people that are big names going at it. And
well, I mean, it's all money. It's all about the money.
I get that.
You know, they got paid the big money, and now they can just be like, hey, look, I mean, as much as people want to say, I mean, wrestling is, fake, predetermined, and all that shit. But come on, looking at some of this boxing shit.
I was honestly kind of surprised LA Knight didn't say anything about Jake Paul tonight on SmackDown. I was waiting for it after he mentioned Logan Paul.
Well, speaking of Logan, he's right behind his brother as he's talking and all that.
Yeah.
Saying whatever bull. Oh my gosh! Now that I'm gonna have to look at more reactions to the fight.
Yeah.
When we're done here, but you know what? Let's go ahead and move on, because you know what? From one boxing-ish match to another match that kind of had some fists thrown, mainly at the end, we had our WWE Tag Team titles on the line. Excuse me, as I hiccuped and burped at the same time.
Yeah,
that's been happening a lot lately. Motor City Machine Guns took on the Street Profits. Not gonna lie, I tried to pay attention to this match, but I was kind of more deep in thought with the whole Seth Seth joining the Bloodline kind of thing, and I kind of had the vibe that it wasn't gonna end cleanly.
Yeah, I feel like this is probably
and
the
lo
best
and behold, lo and behold, here comes Ciampa just coming in and attacking both teams, and he's so obsessed with the gold. Like we're getting Goldie obsessed champion again, like Ciampa again. Yep. So that gets me excited. Mm-hmm. And I love the story that we're telling it, because it's like both teams are, or at least team and a half, are obsessed with getting the tag team gold again.
Yeah.
And not saying Gargano's not, it's just like he's trying to be good old babyface about it. Oh my god, yeah, like he just pushed it aside and all that shit.
Man.
But like I love too how like we got just the little bit more with the Street Profits being heels, because like Motor City Machine Guns at the end of the match, they're trying to help Street Profits up, trying to be respectful, trying to be like, oh yeah, we didn't want this to happen, this wasn't our plan, blah blah blah. But like, good on Angelo Dawkins to be like, nah, get out of my face. No. Because like, in commentary too, I had to put this into perspective. Apparently it's been like 4 years since they've held tag gold.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy to think about. Like, they haven't held any tag team gold in almost 4 years. Like, of course they're going to be frustrated. Of course Angelo Dawkins is going to punch the new guys out and all that for trying to help them. Like, nah, fuck you. We wanted to win. We wanted the titles. And now we got screwed out of it because some other team wants them. No, don't try to be all buddy-buddy with us. We could have beaten you. And we didn't because of this. Like, I don't blame them at all. So I'm hoping we do get a full Street Profit heel turn, maybe. I know another thing commentary kept trying to push too is singles run with the two of them. Like, I don't know. How do you feel? Would you not saying would you want to have singles run for them? Obviously, like I would love that, but like with that, would you like to see them break up, or would you like to see them still be a unit but go like do their singles run kind of thing?
So, pretty much looking at how this match played out as a whole, like I said earlier, this was probably the best result you could have really done. Because if you
Yeah.
had the Motor City Machine Guns beat Street Profits clean, how does that really benefit the Street Profits and where do they really go from there? Because their only line of direction could venture down two routes. Either they win the titles, they become the new tag team champions, or because of the result of that match, let's say Montez Ford gets pissed, flips out on Dawkins, walks away, starts his own thing. So you could only venture down that route and only do so much. So it's like what we got, where it's like, okay, we had Ciampa come out. That's great. We're giving us a Ciampa that needs to be presented this way on the main roster because a lot of people love Ciampa in NXT because of this version of his character. And when Triple H brought him back from injury and brought back that theme song, I mean, that was the icing on the cake for me. So it's like just seeing Ciampa being presented this way was a plus for me because that gives him something interesting to do with his character. It actually makes him and Johnny Gargano actually matter on the show besides just being there as another tag team. Now you're actually having multiple stories being played out in the tag division. Ciampa potentially going heel, going on his own, which I wouldn't be against. Or if you wanted to do a heel face tag team, which could be a thing. But it's like with Street Profits, I could definitely see a full-on heel turn with them. Probably for the best, honestly, just to give them a different direction to head down. And then with the Motor City Machine Guns, I mean, this just gives them, more. This just involves them into a story that's not only with the Street Profits, but it's also with the DIY as well. Which, honestly, if I had to choose one between the both of them, I would probably say if one were to split up, I would say DIY. Because you could really build Johnny Gargano if you really wanted to as like a very strong underdog baby face. He could almost like venture down the routes as like a Sami Zayn. Because the Johnny Gargano that we're getting on the main roster isn't really the Johnny Gargano that we all know. Because we talked about Johnny Gargano on our Discord server, talking about the matches, the 2 out of 3 falls match that he had with Adam Cole. I believe was there, I think he had a match with Andrade too, right?
Yeah, his match with because I think his match with Andrade, I think that got. I mean, again, take these ratings with a grain of salt as well. Also considering the source, but like I'm pretty sure his match with Andrade got 5 stars from Davey Boy Meltzer. I think I'd have to go back and check. But like, yeah, there's that match. There's his match with both 2 out of 3 falls matches with freaking Adam Cole. Like, because apparently they had 2 of those things, which cool, awesome. Like, and I think he had a match with. I want to say he had a match with Aleister Black. He probably did at one point. But like the other ones are just tag team matches. But like strictly singles matches, like Johnny Gargano's good. Just his feud with Ciampa too. Like I'll never forget. It was their last man standing match. I think it was either him or Ciampa, one of them. Like the count was going, and they were like on like this pedestal or whatever. And like before the count hit 10, one of them rolled off and like leaned themselves on like the pedestal. And that's how they were able to stand up. And then like 10 happened, and that was the end of the match. Like that, something like that. It's so simple, but it's so brilliant at the same time because it's like, oh, yes, that's using your environment to its utmost potential. Because like, okay, I can't stand up for the whole 10 count. Let me just roll off of this and just lean on it. Again, simple but brilliant, The
Master 2.19999.
The master of it. Like, you guys, that's why AEW does it so much. Like, Johnny Gargano was one of the ones that did it so often and so well that since it worked, hey, let's all do it on the Indies. Let's all do it in New Japan and all that. Like, I mean, and I'm sure they did it even more like in New Japan around that time too. But it's like Gargano was one of the ones that you always thought of during that part.
Yeah,
you know,
so
and if he's able to bring that magic to the main roster, the best way to start with that is a feud with Ciampa.
Yeah, that's what pretty much brought him to be the mascots of the Black and Gold era, because of that very reason, because of their presentation alone.
Exactly. But I mean, I'm assuming all of this is going to be leading towards a triple threat for the tag titles. Which fine, cool. I'm fine with that. I don't know if it's going to be at Survivor Series. Oh, look at me trying to say that a tag team title match is going to be on a freaking PLE. Like, but I mean, that's the thing. It's like with Saturday night's main event coming up, you could have it there. You know, that's kind of a PLE, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have much more to say other than, I mean, yeah, like, I like the attitude change with Street Profits. I like the cooking that we're doing with DIY. And I mean, Motor City Machine Guns, I mean, they're kind of, I don't want to say like they're the third party in all this, but like that's kind of their characters right now. Because like they just got into the company and they just won the tag titles within like 3 matches that they've had. Like this was only like what, their 5th match in the company? Because they had like the match with Grayson Waller and Austin Theory like the week before, I think, like last week. And then the week before, I don't know. That's just going back and time traveling and all that. But like, the point still stands. They are still fairly new into the company, and they're just inserting themselves, and it's pushing along this story within a tag team division, which is a lot more than you can say about Raw, where it's just like, oh, here's Finn Balor and JD McDonough, and they're the tag champions. Don't forget, everybody, they're the tag champions, and they have to face the freaking War Raiders now. When are they going to face them? I don't know. Maybe next week. Maybe the week after. Actually, it's probably going to be the week after. Because this coming week, they're facing Dom and Carlito.
Yeah, woohoo.
Yeah, woo. Great. Awesome. Carlito's probably going to eat the pin because they want to keep doing the whole Dom Finn thing, which I'm on Finn's side with that, but that's besides the point. You know what? I'm ready to move on. I'm ready to move on. I started talking about Dom, and I'm just like, Dominic Mysterio. Oh, man. But we got our main event. We've got our WWE Women's title on the line. Nia Jax defending against Naomi. I'm so glad this was the main event because, again, Naomi deserves it. Nia deserves it. She's been putting in some good work. Match itself was fine. And then there's, like, a lot of story around it, too. But, like, let's start with the part of the story before the match. So, like, Bayley goes in the back. She goes up to Naomi. She tries to hype her up a little bit, be like, hey, look, looking forward to, I won my match. Hopefully you win your match. We'll be double champions. We'll be great. We'll be awesome. We'll be best buds and all that. But, like, she tries to warn her about Io on Raw, trying to team up with her and be like, be careful, Io, because, backstabbing, blah, blah, blah. And then in comes Bianca and Jade, and, like, Bianca is just like, you're one to talk about backstabbing and all that. So, like, how do you feel about, like, this aspect of it? Because, like, I don't want to necessarily say that, oh, Bianca's going to have a heel turn, but it's like, we're finally adding a little bit more character with Bianca. I mean, it would be great. I would be down for it. But, like, I mean, after seeing a few interviews, I'm like, because I kind of see her as like the Cena of the women's division right now, because people look up to her and all that. So like, how do you feel about, like, I guess the little bit of attitude that Bianca seems to always have when Bayley's on screen?
I mean, I like how there's some continuity with it, where it's like, it's not like since the feud's over and she's a baby face, she's forgetting about everything that the both of them been through. Like, there's at least things there where it's like, You know, you put Bianca through a lot of shit, even like before all the stuff with Damage Control started. It's just her and Bayley's history alone. It's just good to see that, yeah, Bianca, deep down, even though you changed your ways, she still doesn't really like you. So I like how that's a key factor in all of this. And again, it's just seeing that segment alone with Bayley and Naomi, that's almost telling me, are they already giving us the outcome of that tournament? Just seeing Bayley and Naomi there competing against each other at Saturday night's main event, just to see like how things could evolve when it comes to their relationship. Not saying that they're going to like go their separate ways, but it just seems like an ongoing thing that they've been doing for quite some time, where Bayley's like, oh, we're going to be championships together. You're going to do this. You're going to do that. Like, it's almost seems like in a way Naomi's kind of getting a little annoyed with Bayley in some way, shape, or form sometimes, even though she's realistically just trying to be there to help her out, look after her as a friend and all of that. But that just opens up the door of like, okay, is this building to something, or is it just, you know, a friend just hyping someone up? So we'll see where that goes. But I will say, to me personally, this was I personally enjoyed this match, just mainly because with Naomi and Nia Jax in the match, you know, I wasn't expecting to see that reversal on the top rope where she just flipped her over and landed her on the map. I was completely blown away by that. I feel like that was a very good presentation when it came to showing like, yeah, Naomi could actually be up here with a lot of the other girls, like a Bayley, like a Charlotte, like a Bianca, like a Becky Lynch. Like, she can be up there doing this and that. So that's why I wouldn't be opposed at the end of the day if she does potentially win that United States Championship, so she could have it for a bit and then eventually put herself in that main event picture and take the title from Tiffany or whoever has it at the time, or whatever brand she goes to. But it's like, I felt like this was a very good way to show people that, yeah, people care about people care about Naomi, because they were popping when it came to certain moments throughout the match, when it came to, like I said, that reversal on the top rope, or the super Samoan drop that Nia did on Naomi. It was just really good to see that the girls were able to hang in the main event, because we saw it on Monday's show with the tag match. We saw it on Tuesday's show with the North American titles match. We had Fallon Henley and Kalani Jordan, where Kalani was getting a rematch, and now we see another women's main event again with Nia Jax and Naomi. It was just good presentation for the woman alone when it came to a lot of the love that was put onto these shows. And again, this is also building more into the whole thing with the women's war games when it comes to, you know, Candice coming out. So that kind of tells you who their fifth member is going to be, because we had Liv Morgan and Raquel take out Bianca and Jade in the back. So now we have on one side, we got Bianca, Jade, Io, Bianca, Jade, Io, Naomi, and then obviously they have that 4. And then on Liv's side, we got Liv, Raquel, Nia Jax, Tiffany, and Candice LeRae. So now you got that side. So this is pretty much just building more into the women's War Games match itself, which I will say, based on the past women's War Games matches, they honestly have been pretty fun based on what we got out of them alone these past couple years. And I feel like the men's War Games match and the women's War Games match this year might actually be like pretty entertaining all the way through, because especially with the women's War Games match, I can see it getting pretty chaotic, especially when you have Tiffany Stratton involved, because I'm going to come out and say it. I do expect a cash in within that match, because
I do too. I really want it.
Because you would think, realistically, you picture yourself in this scenario. If you were Tiffany Stratton and you're in a War Games match and you have both of the champions on your team and you have them competing with other girls within the match, and they're destroying each other, they're tearing each other apart, you would think realistically that's probably your best option to just cash in that Money in the Bank contract, because now there's a chance right there where it's like Nia could be beaten down and she can't get up, and Liv can be beaten down and she can't get up. We obviously know it's not venturing down the Liv route, but it's like you would expect there's going to be a certain point within the match itself where a lot of the girls are going to team up to do like some super explosive move on Nia Jax, because obviously Nia Jax is the target and they're going to want to take out the big threat. That's almost like whenever the Big Show or Mark Henry enters the Royal Rumble, we got to get the big guy out. We got to get Omos out. We got to get all these big guys out. So it's like,
how will you ever get him over the top rope by yourself? Well, you gotta
especially with Jade involved. I mean, she just picked up Nia and threw her right over. So it's like,
oh yeah,
I can imagine one of those things where it's like, I got to do this now, because it would be stupid if you just be like, okay, another failed cash in. I mean, out of all the attempts that she's done so far, this seems like it would be the perfect opportunity, and she probably would make history doing this as well, to being the first woman to pin a champion and get the title out of the War Games match, because it doesn't matter what match it is. The whole point of that contract within the Money in the Bank briefcase is to make a title match whenever you want. So Tiffany really wants to, she could make that a match where her title is on the line, and she would be able to pin one of the champions, because at that point, it's pretty much like honestly, in a way, now that I'm thinking about it, if she cashes in that contract, that pretty much means, I would assume, whoever gets the pinfall out of Liv and Nia, in a way, that's kind of like the titles on the line for everybody involved. So whoever pins either of those champions, is pretty much wins. And obviously, you have Liv Morgan has certain programs that she's dealing with that doesn't really make sense for her to win. So that's why, in a way, I can kind of see Tiffany being the one to make the pinfall to like end off the match. And I have a feeling it's gonna be one of those things where it's like, okay, Candice is involved now, her and Nia are gonna be doing a lot within the match, and Tiffany's just gonna get fed up. She's gonna beat the living snot out of Nia or whatever, and then she's gonna cash it in. So it's like, it's perfect opportunity to do it.
Yeah, because like we got the tease last year, because like I remember I wasn't like mad, but I was just like, I was upset because like they had the perfect opportunity to do something really cool last year, because Damian Priest, being Mr. Money in the Bank, he could have easily just cashed in on Seth Rollins right there. Like, Rhea was literally right there. But no, as soon as Randy Orton's music hit, it's just like, oh no, we can't cash in anymore. We can't do that anymore, even though there's plenty of freaking time. But whenever that was last year, that's besides the point. We already got that rectified because of Mania. Great, cool, awesome, fan-freaking-tastic. But like, we have another moment here where we can make that happen, you know? And I'm glad you brought up the whole thing with like, anyone can pin her, because like, that I was gonna bring that up too. It's just like, within that War Games match, anyone can make the pinfall on Nia, or hell, it could be even on anybody. Like, what if, like, because that's the thing. Like, now it becomes a match for the WWE Women's title. So like, what if at a point like Io ends up pinning Candice? You know, technically the match is for the women's title, and even though you didn't really pin Nia, you still pinned somebody, you still won, which means now Io is the women's champion. Like, it could be something like that where it's like a loophole and all that. Like, you know, so it's like, it adds so much intrigue to the match and all that. And like, I don't know if Tiffany would be like the one to beat down Nia. I see her more of being like the opportunistic one of doing that. Just because of like how, like, because the story they're telling right now is just like Tiffany coming up with all these plans and they're always failing, but like, this could be the one where it's like, because I think this is like the ultimate plan, is like getting Nia into that cage and getting her beat up so badly that Tiffany's gonna cash in then, which, I mean, it could happen during the match. It could also happen after the match, like after all that. And I mean, she's not gonna cash in on Liv Morgan, not only because like, not just because the story really doesn't suit that, but also as bad as her muscle is, she does have Raquel there as her muscle to kind of get her out of that trouble. So Liv's not getting cashed in on. But oh shit, no! I just thought of something too. Because if Tiffany Stratton cashes in and makes the whole match for a title, and I know this is going down the route of like her basically failing a cash in.
Oh,
but it'd be one thing. Like, what if she makes the match, but she makes it for Liv's title, and then Rhea wins?
I don't know. So I
don't. Yeah, like, yeah. Again, that's whole like loopholes. That's just those whole speculations, all that stuff. It's like,
I will say, if that does happen, I probably wouldn't be a fan of that, only because it's like you were gonna get the match for her anyway. So why use someone else's opportunity just to benefit yourself? And that's gonna be one of the only times I could probably agree with the community online if there's like any backlash with that, because it's like, why waste Tiffany's cash? Why waste Tiffany's cash in on somebody else getting a pinfall to get that title? Because realistically, it makes sense for Rhea Ripley to get her revenge on her own, because it's more poetic that way. Just like if it was like, that's why I wasn't a fan of, that's why I'm not the biggest fan of triple threat matches. If it's a storyline that follows two people that has a lot more depth, like let's say hypothetically it was like Cody and Roman, and then you had like some random guy a part of it. It wouldn't feel as special if it wasn't just Cody and Roman, and then Cody getting the pin himself. So it's like Tiffany using it to cash in, to get that title shot for her. I mean, to me, it's like, okay, I could see the vision, but I wouldn't want Rhea to go down that route, because it makes sense at the end of the day for Rhea now to get her revenge after all the pain that's being dealt with her. So whenever Rhea gets that title shot against Liv, it makes more sense for her to pin her, because it would feel more satisfying that way. And it would actually feel earned, instead of being like, well, here you go. Here's Tiffany's opportunity handed to Rhea Ripley. I wouldn't like that. Yeah. So it's like, it's gonna be that's why I said it's gonna.
That's also assuming Rhea's in the match, but
but it's like, also you got to look at it like this, where it's like that's the whole thing I mentioned earlier, where it's like these matches are normally chaotic, and the main reason why we're talking about this right now, because we did give our thoughts on this match, that this is basically just bleeding into the future, so it's beneficial to the subject at hand. But it's like, I mean, realistically, it just, I don't. It's also hard for me to really see her having a failed cash in, considering all the teases, because they do this shit so much, where it's like tease, because you would have thought that with Damian Priest, but he actually got that successful cash in at WrestleMania this year.
Yeah,
because they did the same shit with him. So that's why I said, like, things like this are normally chaotic. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out, how it makes sense. Does Tiffany actually have a say as to who the title is for? Because she pretty much has the power in her hands. What is it for? Is it for Liv? Is it for Nia? Because you also got to factor that in as well. That's why it's going to be interesting to see how they pull it off. But I mean, like you said, they teased to do it last year, so it's not like they wouldn't want to do it again. And I feel like it would be the perfect opportunity. We'll have to see how it goes, but it's like, it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah. And Tiffany's spot with the Money in the Bank, it's a lot different than what Austin Theory's was back in the day.
Oh God,
like a couple of years ago, because like, I mean, he kept trying to cash in and kept failing and failing, but like his position on the card was a lot lower than Tiffany's is.
Yeah,
I would argue, and which is why they had him. I mean, they had their little loophole of him cashing in on the U.S. title, which he still technically failed that cash in. You know, he still won the title in the end, but it's like he technically did fail the cash in. So I don't know, whatever. That's neither here nor there, I guess. I don't know. I'm on the same boat. I don't see Tiffany having a failed cash in with this, and I think she's biding her time. I think again, the whole War Games thing, I think that's part of her plan going forward. Just like wear Nia down like that. I think that's also too why like she's having them do like the tag team matches and like
makes sense.
having like Nia like keep facing all these people, like facing Naomi, like having these big challenges to kind of wear her out a little bit. And I mean, I don't mean that in a mean way with Nia. It's just like, she's not, as in shape as, most other people, just because, that's just Nia as what she is, So it's just like, okay, I can wear her down a little bit more because she is bigger than me. She's a more intimidating force than me. So like, if I wear her down a little bit more, I can take advantage of that. And that's part of Tiffany's strategy here. And I think it's going to culminate at War Games. I'm hoping it does because I know we've been predicting, as well as some of the rest of the community have been predicting the cash in, and it still hasn't happened. And I know people are getting antsy with it, but I think this is the time. I think I will throw my hat in there and say that this is the time to do it. But you know what? I'm gonna leave it there. I'm gonna leave it there with SmackDown. It was a good show overall, I thought. I mean, again, a few things here and there to kind of pick at and talk about and all that, mainly with like the Bloodline stuff. But I mean, everything overall, I mean, I think we're in a good spot for Survivor Series, for War Games going forward. Again, like a lot of my questions have to do with the Bloodline stuff. Like if we're gonna, when we do involve Seth, how and why? Like those are the main questions. How and why with Seth going forward. But like everything else I think is panning out very nicely. Not only just for Survivor Series, but for a month from now for Saturday night's main event. I think we're in for a good treat for that show as well. But what do you think of SmackDown overall?
My overall thoughts on the show, really, I mean, I'm just hoping to get that explanation of who the fifth member is going to be on Roman's team so we can get a concrete answer. Hopefully there's some substance to it so it makes a lot of sense. And of course, finally getting that tournament with a woman, getting started with the US title for them. Pretty awesome to see. Going to be pretty interesting to see how that plays out throughout the following months. But other than that, that's all my thoughts are. I mean, we pretty much just expressed our thoughts within the show itself.
Yep. We even talked about a little bit of a boxing match too.
Yeah.
Wasn't that great fun? Little side note for everybody. But yeah, so that's basically the show. So, gonna thank you guys for coming out and, again, hanging out with us for a bit, especially while a certain fight was going on. So if you did catch it live, hey, thank you again. If you're catching the VOD, thank you for catching the VOD. Make sure to leave all your comments down below. Let us know what you thought of SmackDown as a whole, where you think everything's going to go and all that. If you want to talk to us about things like, wrestling, anime, manga, video game, all that other fun stuff, like we're very social creatures. Me, Drop, Vash, everybody on the Weebs of the Ring team, Anima We Studio, we're all social creatures. And we have tons of links you guys can follow us on, to things like Twitter, Instagram. I am going to have to put our Blue Sky account on here because we do have a Blue Sky account now for Weebs of the Ring. So I'll be putting that in here soon as well. I said Twitter, I believe, already, and of course here on YouTube as well. But we also have our individual socials as well, my Twitter and all that, YouTube and everything. We got Drops, Twitter, YouTube, and all that. We got the main channel, MOE Studio. Got those links down there in the description for you. Yeah, so again, if you want to follow us, want to talk to us, be sure to do all that. All your links are in the description below. Easy to find, easy to do. Just click, 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 all that wonderful stuff. So as you're clicking and doing all that, I'm just going to take some time again to thank you for listening to the Weebs of the Ring podcast. If you enjoyed what we had to say, why not do exactly what I just told you to do? Because it's very, very, very simple. We are known as Weebs of the Ring on all social media platforms, and also be sure to use the hashtag Weebs of the Ring if you want to interact with us before, during, or after these shows. Feedback is always appreciated, as we are nothing without you guys tuning in. Weebs of the Ring is presented by Animal Weed Studio. Thanks to our production team for all of their hard work every single day and every single week. Thank you once again and for joining us. And remember, as always, no strength enemies were harmed in the recording of this podcast. They also did not go to Verizon and knock down the tires, so I could still be here for the whole entire show. So with that being said, thank you everybody. Have a good night. And just remember, Jake Paul somehow beat Mike Tyson in a boxing match. But hey, Mike Tyson's also 50-something years old. Good job beating up a senior citizen. Have a good night, everybody.
Peace out, guys, and we'll see you guys on Monday for Raw.